next speaker, I'm very happy to introduce Shuai Wang, who is a software steward at Maastricht University, and maybe also very famous and will end up in our SWIP history books when it comes to last year's talk, the walk and talk, as we called it. So I hope this time you're not disturbed and can sit during your talk or stand, whatever you prefer. Your talk has the title Best Practices and Evolution Criteria for Constructing Multilingual Structured Vocabularies for LGBTQ+ Libraries and Heritages. Stage is yours.
Thank you, Julia. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So thanks for bringing back the memory from last year. Yeah, this time I'm sitting here in a peaceful place. So yeah, so I'm here to present the last piece of work that I did for this community, for the LGBTQ linked open vocabulary community. And this is, I have to admit that this is a little bit outdated because I kind of already left the community and moved on to new work. I'd like to also thank these people for reviewing this work. So the reason for this is that we found that there are this willingness to introduce multilingual labels to LGBTQ vocabularies. So I'm first going to give you an introduction about all these semantic models, and then I'm going to give you more ideas about how they are currently doing it, what kind of practices have they done, and then, of course, explain why I'm here to present some of my thoughts, and then I'm going to propose some best practices together with evaluation criteria. So yeah, so first of all, you can see here on the screen that there are some multilingual LGBTQ concepts that are captured in different semantic models or conceptual models in the semantic web. Last year I presented Homosaurus, yeah, I hope some of you still have a little bit of memory. Otherwise, you can see here on the screen that English and Dutch are the main languages. Well, over the past year, 2 years, they have been trying to add multilingual labels. So far, and also together with some historical reasons, they have in total 55 languages, labels in 55 languages, but not all of them are complete. Some of them are like 2-3 labels in that particular language. Some of them goes up to 8 languages. So it's really not something that is yet quite multilingual. You can also see others, including those generic purposes those ones that are generic purposes. For example, Yago, DBpedia, Wikidata. I think so far in this conference, Wikidata has been mentioned many times, so I will not go too deep into it. But LCSH is something that is also probably very well known in this community, Library Congress subject headings. Not very well known is JSSO, which is an ontology for sex, gender, sexuality, and then QLIT is something in Swedish and it's for literature. So you can see here that I make a little bit of comparison in order for you to have an idea what's going on. So Homosaurus was initially developed to work together with, to be used together with LCSH for LGBTQ heritage and libraries. And then later, as I said, so later there is almost a translation for it. So QLIT is mostly based on Homosaurus, well, with additional terms, etc., etc. And then it's translated into Swedish. So they are both thesaurus and they're published as linked open data. So they behave in similar ways. You have websites to download as well as APIs for access. Difference is that Homosaurus come with very strict licenses and it's renewed every few months, now stabilizing to half a year. So you can see that the reason that they want to have no, let's say, well, they don't want your extensions to it is because there's really a lot of social implications and also political issues. So it can be quite complicated, and also ethical issues, right? So and then you also see QLIT, which comes with much less concerns. So they are used for mostly for only one online database for the indexing of the items. JSSO comes in an also different background. It has a background in biomedical research, and it has also been used in gallery, libraries, and museums. So you can see that this one is because of its background. It currently contains multilingual labels of 77 languages. It's actually an ontology, so it's a little bit different from the others. Of course, it's also published this way. So I also want to emphasize that using GSSO can also lead to licensing issues. So you probably have to be extra careful. So in contrast to all those mentioned to the left, you see Wikidata is really generic, it's multilingual, and then it's the licensing is much less of an issue. So my work is based on two pieces of work that I have previously done. Some was presented before at the Semantic Web and Library Conference last year. I'd like to quickly recap a little bit. So you can see that we have these links that are in between of them, and then actually also links between different versions. So these links are there to help people find the corresponding resources, but these are really dynamic links, meaning that they are linked, but yeah. So the concept so the entities are really dynamic. So you can also see the changes in concept, in meaning. Sometimes you see the concepts drifted as well as how they deal with this, handle with this. Sometimes these are redirected, sometimes are replaced. For example, right? You see replaced. Some other situations, people use identifier to trace back the resources. This work is very important, but it is interesting, but it also triggers a lot of thinking on the handling of ambiguity, especially when things goes into this multilingual setting. So as you can see that sometimes, as you can imagine, sometimes a little bit of error and issue could be amplified, and then as you go on searching, walking with the links through different linked vocabularies and entities. So for Homosaurus, as you can see, you have already English and Dutch that are quite mature. So just to let you know that the Dutch one is not in the current downloadable one. So you have to go to the Sparkle endpoint to get it, and it was mostly handled by Jack, which is retired, and then. The Spanish one, they have received a grant. So this is a postdoc that and well, of course, and also volunteers that worked on it. I also tried to contribute to it a little bit using machine learning tools. And then there are also professors that are trying to provide labels in their own languages. So far, Homosaurus has released its, as far as I know, the fourth version, which started to gradually include all the labels, and then you can also see that the interface has changed to these languages. So that's all great signs, but then you really have a lot of issues and concerns that has not been properly addressed. So this is why this presentation. So some things that I noticed was that, for example, there's no fixed glossary involved. A lot of situations you don't really have some kind of standards or standard ways, patterns for this translation. The evaluation criteria is also not very clear. None of them include any indicators, and then some of them are translated but not included yet in the work. I'm not trying to put too much of criticism on this because this is really a lot of manual work. It takes a long time, but I would like to propose some ideas to help the community work better on this. And also, I hope that this will inspire people who will be working on similar tasks. So you can see that this whole process is not transparent, not very clear how they deal with the translation, who are the founders, what concepts are outdated, how are they maintained, from what resources did you rely on the translation of certain terms, etc. Some translations were actually integrated and published, but the quality might not be very good. And this is because you don't really seem to have an evaluation criteria for this. And also there's issues to do with, for example, ethical and political issues that people in the community knows, but people who are using it might not be aware of. How do you address these kind of things? Is there, and then, well, this is also considering that the documentation is not quite available, and that will the translation be inherited? Will these ethical and political issues be inherited during the translation? So these are all all the concerns. I will not go through this list, but I would like to also address that given that these days we talk so much about fair, I'd like to also emphasize that many of them are published, but not very, very fair. Finally, sustainability could be left as this in the discussion. So I'd like to go to the main part of my presentation, which is really just about these two items, the best practices as well as evaluation criteria. So let's look at the best practices first. I'd like to propose these 7 points that are further explained in the document, but you can see that these 7 items probably address most urgent challenges that communities are facing. That includes the clarity, accuracy, consistency, cultural and contextual sensitivity, as well as inclusivity, ethical issues. I've already mentioned the transparency issue multiple times, and then the documentation, publication, maintenance. It might be quite boring to read my previous slide, but here I give you some example. So you can see that one example is that in Bulgaria, for example, you really have 2 different kinds of writing systems. And then is your translation going into using which writing system? Sometimes the scope would also change. So for example, in QLIT, they changed the scope. When they were translating, they said, this plus thing goes into all different kinds of unknown or less scientific categories, which they are not very confident about. So they just terminated their scope up to LGBTQI, and that's all. Well, Homosaurus is made even made for the generic situation, right? So you can then see, and also sometimes you see this kind of translation issues. So for example, the QLIT and they prefer HBTQI, and then in Homosaurus is LGBTQ plus. So consistency is another issue. So take the Dutch language as example, because there is not such a glossary that is there to, or at least not that I'm aware of. So the translation, for example, legal name could be then different. So legal name is naamrecht, but then legal name change is this one, which I cannot pronounce. So this leads to a little bit of a contradiction in how legal name should be translated. There's also syntactical consistency, right? Should be American gay of African people, or African American. How the order would also be have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. The translation of pronouns is also another issue. When we were previously handling it, we found that these things don't need to be translated. So you better just fix it. You better just state it there, saying like, in whatever language, you don't need the translation. But then you see that self is actually English term. So would this part be translated? You need some specification there. Finally, cultural and contextual sensitivity, and also meaning of slangs and slangs. When I was handling the attempting the Chinese translation, I realized that just this concept of gay parents, it's just simply not possible. At least as far as I know, we don't really seem to have a perfect translation that is bias free, that is culturally not sensitive, and also it represents that you don't seem to attach a gender to the parents. So yeah, it's quite difficult. Finally, of course, the transparent and then documentation issues are quite important. I'd like to then move on to the last part of my presentation, which is the evaluation criteria. This is divided into two parts. The first part is the indicators. So far you see that they have things, well, they provided their attempt with the Spanish translation, but then a lot of things are, it's not very clear to me, you know, how much certain things are. So if I could have a bunch of numbers, that would be really, really helpful. That would also be helpful in terms of indicating the progress. So here you can see that, of course, I'd like to see the numbers of concepts that are translated, well, in different languages, numbers of terms, about learns, pronouns, new terms, biased, culturally sensitive, these ones. If there could be numbers to it, then that would be really, really helpful. I mean, by numbers, I mean the translated ones. So the ratio of preferred labels and alternative labels. So the reason for this part is that you the more alternative labels you have, the more it could be used for detection of entities in natural language, in words, in paragraphs, in essays, etc. And then how many of them actually have scope notes and links, and then how many links do they have? This also gives you a rough estimation of how complete this is. So there are also situations to do with commands and scope notes regarding the simplicity of simplicity and readability. So here are some that could be useful. In my previous work, we addressed this one that deals with machine learning, machine translation. So some of them are simply just mostly fine. So you can translate it using machine learning tools, but use NLP tools. But then there is just a few things that needs to be changed. So the Levenstein distance. Then there are this last part I will be talking about the self-assessment criteria. So I see that in the community we don't seem to have any auditing team. So most cases, the team who edited it is also the team that published it and also the team that perform assessment. I would like to encourage that the community should adapt some sorts of self-assessment report. I'm here promoting a template. Of course, every conceptual model has different scenarios. The template could then be used, hopefully in the future, according to the different scenarios. So there you have the first one, which is about glossaries and guidelines of translation. So as I mentioned already a few times, glossaries are quite important. You need the writing system specified and also standardize certain tokens and terms. And then the criteria for inclusion and exclusion of terms should be also considered, so that people knows why certain things are included, why are they not included. Is it because of reasons for use? For example, why there are certain medical terms it's included, but would this be useful for example, QLIT? No. So that's why, yeah, you need to clarify, specify this. Then also there is a set of rules for the translation of syntactically similar or analogical expressions to maintain the syntactic structures if possible. So this is to do with consistency in translation. And also consistency not only between different languages, but also between versions, right? So there should also be guidelines for translation of historical terms, pronouns, and then also those counterintuitive ones. Finally, I'd like to also emphasize that documentation is quite often missing. This is a very, very sad thing for people who are trying to perform examination, because that basically means we just have to go through pages and pages of things located in different on different web pages, and then for example, the corresponding paper, trying to find out what they actually mean, or what is the reason they do something. So this is not very convenient for people who, like me, who performed a round of examination, or people who are trying to use it. Yeah, so this could be improved by the community. So could better include information to improve transparency. For example, who is the founder, who are the members, and then which affiliation, and then how frequent things are updated, and then if there is any plan to be updated in near future, for example. I'd like to also emphasize that persistent identifiers is not quite well used in this community, making it not quite fair, although it's findable and accessible. But yeah, so the identifier needs to be added, and also metadata, if they could have their metadata available and also sent and included in different registries and portals, and that would be really, really helpful for the search, to improve the searchability. Finally, regarding usability, there are some comments. So here on this page, I have these the previous two papers included, and also this work that we talked about is included in as a very, very tiny bit in this paper, so that yeah, so so most of the things are here in this document. If you go to this document, you can see this. I'd like to thank Wilfred from ILIA and also his colleague Harriet. Entry also helped with reviewing, and then Martin provided some comments and suggestions regarding the Bulgarian language. Thank you so much. And then this is, yeah, I'm between jobs, so if you want to contact me, better send me an email to my Gmail. So I will also include this slide in the when I upload it. So when I upload it, so you know where to find additional resources. Thank you so much. I see already questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shuai. Maybe I can also add, because I don't know if you know that I sit here in the QLIT office from
Oh, wow.
QLIT.
Wow.
So my
Okay.
office neighbor is actually currently, she confirmed that today, working on a full translation of Homosaurus. So at the end of the year, she will be done. And then we have a full translation of Homosaurus in QLIT,
Right.
which hopefully makes everything a bit better.
Nice, nice. I'm so happy to see that people are following up, because I'm leaving the community. I have new jobs and then new tasks, new challenges ahead of me. I'm really happy that people are taking over, and hopefully the translation process will be going well. And also, of course, and feel free to use all these resources that I'm providing today for justification and evaluation of all the translations and multilingual labels. Yeah.
Okay, so the question from the audience was, did you review the multilingual labels available via Wikidata for LCSH? As LCSH is mapped to Wikidata, you might be able to find additional labels for those LCSH concepts that have been added in Wikidata.
Yes, so this piece of work, first of all, thanks very much for this question, and then we have already thought a little bit about these mappings, and in fact we have a paper there last year about multilingual label reuse. So you can then see that we looked into it, but then things get a little bit complicated. The source code as well as the generated multilingual data has been made available to the community. So if you contact, for example, people in Ilia or Homosaurus, then you can easily get this. So, but my focus was not between LCSH and Wikidata. I did not personally review any of the labels I understand that LCSH has all these ethical and political issues, and then which I could be, as you can see from this map, could be passed on could be influencing to others, but I didn't personally review it. So so here you can see I retrieved all these links. So these links are in the community. You can ask people there because I'm leaving the community. I've already left the community. And the second part of the question is, as LCSH is mapped, you might be able to find additional labels. Yes, so I have already answered that part of the question. Yes, so you have all kinds of labels that you can use. But what the conclusion of that paper was that you can find, well, we developed ways to kind of narrow it down to certain labels. So you can use it, so only with regarding those labels, so you don't really have the problem of swimming through a lot of labels of related concepts. We narrow it down a little bit, but still there are issues because oftentimes you see there are related concepts that, for example, exact match. There's tiny, tiny little issues that could be different and then causing troubles later when you do the reuse. So yeah, and same thing for the Swedish ones. So we have also provided some Swedish labels. So hopefully that these Swedish labels could be considered. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shuai. Due to time, we have to proceed now, but if you want to discuss more, there's the live chat and there's also the discourse forum where people can contact you.
Sure. I will upload my slides to the forum, and thank you so much for attending, for listening. Good luck with everything. Bye-bye.
Thank you.